We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Tim Bradley switches up on Shakur Stevenson after the Artem Harutyunyan performance. Tim Bradley did a brand new interview and he said some things that I thought were pretty interesting. Tim Bradley, and I'm just paraphrasing because you can find the clip on the internet, but he says, I don't know, man. I'm second guessing if Shakur has the goods to be able to deal with somebody as vicious as Gervonta Tank Davis. Tank can smell the female dog, the B-I-T-C-H, in anybody. If you show any softness, he gonna sniff it out, end quote. Listen, I don't always agree with Tim Bradley, but this particular assessment, he is dead on the money. Tank Davis is that dude. I've been telling you guys for years, Gervonta Davis was a terrific fighter, fun fighter to watch. Now, what's interesting to me about it being said by Timothy Bradley is Tim Bradley has worked with Shakur Stevenson in terms of he's an ESPN commentator for the last several years. In fact, since he turned pro, Shakur Stevenson had signed to Top Rank Bob Arum. So basically, they've been within the same house up until this last fight. Even Shakur's final fight with Artem Harutyunyan that just happened, Tim Bradley was a commentator for it. So that's his relationship with Shakur Stevenson. And Tim Bradley is unapologetically, and maybe even to a fault, he seems kind of biased for Terrence Crawford, if you ask him anything. And I know he has history with Crawford, they're friends. Crawford brought him in for sparring. He put in a great word after the sparring with Terrence Crawford, etc. They had the same manager at a point in time, the late Cameron Duncan, rest in peace. But I'm illustrating all that to say that if anything, Bradley is more connected to Shakur Stevenson, being affiliated with the same network, the same promotion, having this affinity for Terrence Crawford and, always speaking highly of Terrence Crawford. And Shakur Stevenson, again, up until recently, was an ESPN fighter. Now, on the flip side of the coin, flip side, Sasuke who had a says she blow la la. Flip side. I don't know why I just did that, but if you know, you know. Flip side, Tank Davis and Tim Bradley, they've had public spats via social media. Tim Bradley has kind of always tarnished Gervonta Davis's name when it comes to, just speaking about him. Up until recently, if you listen to Tim Bradley interviews regarding Gervonta Davis, he ain't never really said, in my opinion, that much good about Gervonta Davis. Is always very skeptical and very critical. And this is not shocking because I see this all the time in the sport of boxing. That's why I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. For me, this is just a job. I punch in, I punch out. Now, I don't work for somebody. I wake up when I want. I make my own money. I make my own schedule. But it's me punching in every single time I hit the record button and publish a video and go live and stuff like that. So this is my job. So it's always business. It's never nothing personal. So with that being said, the reason I'm the best in the business is because whether fighters like my opinion or a trainer or somebody's mad, I always keep it A1 like the steak sauce. Even if somebody's mad at me or says something bad about me, I'm always going to do the best job of my ability. I practice stoicism, so I'm a real stoic. So I think that's what's missing in this current game, where a lot of people are too emotional and too beta male. Whereas if they have a bad relationship or they've exchanged words, then they won't keep it real on commentary for that particular person. And I see this all of the time in boxing. Fighters and another fighter or somebody who does commentary, former fighter or whatever, will have some type of quarrel, beef, or rift. And then from that point on, it's like they never say anything good about that person. Me, I just call it like it is. It is what it is. You know, I'm a true stoic. So I can't say the same thing for everybody. And for me, my perspective outside looking in, Tim Bradley has always had it out for Gervonta Davis. So for him to be saying what he's saying now is actually interesting, because I feel like maybe possibly it's partly because Shakur is now a free agent and Shakur might sign with Eddie Hearn or whatever he decides to do with the next chapter of his career. So maybe Tim Bradley feels a bit more free, a little bit more liberated, because from what it sounds like, and again, I'm not Shakur Stevenson, so I can't tell you what his next move is definitively, but from my stance, and if I had to take an educated guess, it really doesn't sound like he wants to go back to Top Rank at ESPN. He's blaming them and saying they showed the crowd leaving, how much they paid them people to make me look bad and leave my fight. He's talked bad about Bob Arum. Bob's clapped back. It's just a lot going on. So for me, it don't look like he wants to go back there. He's at least going to explore his options, and people like Eddie Hearn have showed interest in him. So we'll have to see what he decides. But if I had a say in it, it doesn't look like Top Rank is going to be where he re-signs. Because I think that could have, like we heard, if you look in the news cycle, Virgil Ortiz just did an extension with Golden Boy. And that's how it usually works. If the person really wants to re-sign, usually you just get the announcement like Virgil Ortiz. Like, hey, Virgil Ortiz just re-upped with Golden Boy. He's signed on for more fights. Or, we heard it with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is going to close his career with Rematch Room, et cetera, et cetera. So it doesn't always work like that. But in my experience, I think a lot of times it does work like that. So maybe that's why Tim Bradley is now saying it. He's keeping it real now. Or maybe he just had a change of heart. And that's the beauty of greatness in any sport, but definitely in the sport of boxing. People can deny you for as long as they can, and they can call you names and say you suck. But if you keep proving people wrong time and time again, it silences all that noise. So everybody who's been doubting Gervonta Davis and saying he's scared of this guy or ducking this guy, or he don't want to fight southpaws, or all he has is power, all these like stupid narratives that people have regarding Gervonta Davis, it truly becomes exposed when he fights and performs and passes all of his tests. He's undefeated. He's making a lot of money. If anything, he's become more disciplined, which I actually respect, because there was some moments where people were saying like, oh, he's going to be the next Adrian Broner. And they were saying it in a negative way. They were saying the non-disciplined Broner, the blowing up in between fight Broner. So they weren't saying it like the best of Broner, prime Broner that knocked out Antonio DeMarco. They were saying it in a condescending way. Like, yo, Tank is going to fall. He's going to fly too close from the sky and, get burnt up. And he's going to miss weight and be drinking and all this type of stuff. Tank has proved a lot of people wrong over the last couple of years, and I'm very proud of him. But for Tim Bradley to be almost switching gears on Shakur Stevenson, I think that says a lot. I'm not Bradley, so I can't really speak for why he has a change of heart. But knowing that he's had back and forth spats and Tank has said, whatever responses back that haven't been positive for Bradley or towards Bradley. And he's like, man, I don't know. I don't know if Shakur has the goods to be able to deal with someone as vicious as Tank. It sounds like Bradley's getting cold feet. Because if you ask Bradley about Terrence Crawford versus pretty much anybody like Canelo or whatever, he seems all in and sold that Canelo or whoever Crawford would fight, Crawford has the ability to get it done. He seems that invested in, and he believes that much that Crawford is the one where he can, anything he puts his mind to, he can get done. But he doesn't sound all in to Shakur Stevenson. And I'm going to give you my opinion. I've talked a lot about what Bradley said in this interview. my opinion has never changed. I never thought Shakur Stevenson would beat Gervonta Davis. I know a lot of you guys want to ask. I never thought Devin Haney would beat Gervonta Davis. Styles make fights. The bottom line is, if it's at 135, because keep in mind, Ryan, Devin, Shakur, all these fights should have happened at 135. If people can't continue to make the division and they're blowing up and walking around at 180 and all that, that's on them. But if the fight happened at 135, even really 140, but I've always thought Gervonta Davis is the best of his generation and he has the tools to beat everyone. There's a lot of foolishness on boxing. I'm like Batman of this boxing game, and I'm here to clean up the streets of Gotham. You can listen to my voice and hear what I'm saying. You can believe me. You don't have to believe me. I don't really care. But be careful who and what you listen to in this sport of boxing, because there's a lot of guys and girls, they claim they love boxing, but they don't know about boxing. If you look at their track record, they're always wrong. Like if they put out a prediction, the prediction is always wrong. What they say is going to happen never happens. Their assessments, what they choose to focus on in their videos or their TikToks or their content, whatever they do, the information is bad. Even people who box, there are a lot of former fighters that have podcasts or do interviews and they're questioned about their picks and stuff. And a lot of them are biased. Like you have Robert Garcia, who, this is not a knock at him, I'm just being real. Robert Garcia says he was picking Ryan Garcia to beat Gervonta Davis because he's from SoCal and he's Mexican, so he gotta go. What does any of that have to do with now recently Robert Garcia, after Gervonta keep knocking people's brains out, now Robert Garcia is saying different stuff, just like Tim Bradley, like, oh man, this kid's bad and he might be unbeatable. But I'm talking about past interviews. In the past, Robert Garcia said basically he was rocking with Ryan Garcia before they fought. That was such an easy fight prediction for your boy Ego. I knew Ryan wasn't going to be, he didn't have the experience, never been a champion. He's fast, but Tank got a good defense. Tank got more power. Tank got more creativity with his offense and defense. I knew how that fight would look. So it's shocking that people pick Mikey Garcia to beat Errol Spence, pick Ryan Garcia to beat Gervonta Davis. Those were some of my easiest predictions. And you know, I was 2-0 with both of those predictions. They were very easy. And then when I say that, you got racist clowns who say stuff like, oh, you only like black fighters and this and that. But then those same racists, they're not saying anything when I have constructive criticism for Devin Haney, who's black, or Shakur Stevenson, who's black. You see how that works? They say Boxing Ego is this and that, and oh, you're racist and you only like black fighters. Now those same people, when they've watched all my videos, and I don't make content based on the crowd, I'm telling you what I feel. I don't care if there's pressure and people think I'm one-sided or whatever. Doesn't faze me. Again, as I said earlier, I'm a stoic. I practice stoicism. So I don't change my opinion based on some negative or positive comments. I don't give a it is what it is. I feel how I feel. It's like a pizza. We don't have to like the same pizza. I don't care what you like. I like what I like. If I'm the only person on this planet that like this flavor of pizza, then so be it. Now that was a little ego rant. But anyway, back to this Shakur. I never thought he would beat Gervonta Davis, for real. And to be honest, I feel even there's certain times where, you know, I'm human, so I guess I can get things wrong. And there's certain guys that, like, you know, they show up or they're better than I thought or whatever the case may be. So then in hindsight, I'm like, even if I stick to my guns on my prediction, I'm like, I don't know, it's going to be a tough one, right? Stuff like that. But the last two performances from Shakur has not convinced me otherwise. If anything, it's solidified what I already felt about Tank is superior and would beat Shakur Stevenson. The bottom line is you got to be who you are. Shakur can get mad and tweet and, you know, try to beef with everybody. That's not going to change how you fight. You've been fighting since age 7, 6, whatever age you've been fighting. You would have done it by now. If you were a monstrous puncher, you would have already shown us that. So that's not in your bag. I'm not saying you can't get no stoppages, but you're not a great finisher like Gervonta Davis, like Terrence Crawford, like Better Biev, like Naoya Inoue. There's some guys that just got that. Shakur, that's not really in his arsenal. So I don't know that the Tank fight will even happen because it's such a lackluster fight. I don't even want to see it for real. I'll see it because I'm a boxing reporter and I'll cover it. And, you know, maybe they could prove me wrong in terms of, but Shakur has not been on a good trend. If a guy has some attributes, some skills, and certain strong attributes, Shakur Stevenson, simply put, he's fighting negative. That's why people keep saying it's boring. You could say it's effective, fine, but effective and boring, right? Like, it's like a piece of chicken, right? And I'm the best in the business and it's not even close. So let me kick the actual facts and break down this chicken analogy for you people. So it's like a piece of chicken. In the States, in the United States, America, we have guidelines and basically regulations and food safety protocols where it is said and stated that chicken and poultry should be cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, right? For your safety. So all the salmonella and bacteria and different things are cooked. People don't get sick. That is the guideline. That is what is decided in America for poultry and chicken, right? The FDA guidelines or whatever, right? Follow along. So what I'm saying with Shakur's style is you could have a piece of chicken that meets the regulation of it's the safe temperature of 165. Doesn't mean it tastes good, right? It could be an unseasoned, bland piece of chicken, so it actually reaches the desired temperature. That doesn't mean it's a great piece of chicken that's well seasoned. That's the same thing with Shakur Stevenson's style. You can say it's effective, but it's kind of like unseasoned chicken, and not everyone's gonna rock with that or be entertained by it. And you got to just accept that. And I think based on the criticism that Shakur encountered with the Edwin De Los Santos fight, he tried to take more risks in this fight with Artem Harutyunyan because Harutyunyan don't punch as hard as Edwin De Los Santos. So later in the fight, he actually looked worse because he was trying to be someone he wasn't. And he, in an effort to, I don't know, be more David Benavidez, he looked weaker because you're not David Benavidez. Like, he had zero jab. He was literally trying to walk in the front door, and it just so happens styles make fights. Harutyunyan, he don't got that type of power. He don't got Tank type of power is what I'm talking about. Shakur said he was strong and all that. That's cool. But I'm talking about like single shot, get you up out of here. And then also you got to look at reach and timing and experience. He was coming off a loss. Some guys have longer arms. So if Shakur leans back or comes in without a jab, they have the right timing or the length on their arms, their wingspan, they could clip him, stuff like that. So you can't make no mistakes. That's what happened with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, right? Where Devin Haney was finally fighting somebody that could match him in terms of their reach is within an inch or two of each other. Not like Regis Prograis, who looked considerably shorter with shorter arms, and Devin was controlling the distance on him. Ryan had speed, had power, and he can also, a lot of people are gonna say, oh, but Osterine. I'm just talking about the actual fight because Osterine is not a fix-all for everything. And I've already said that. But Ryan had the length on his arms, speed, timing, and power. And that's what gave Devin Haney all the problems in the world because he couldn't get away from that left hook. Now, that's why I said if like Shakur moved to 140 and fought Ryan Garcia, it would be a dangerous fight. I'm trying to tell you, styles make fights. That's why Shakur is telling Ryan to come down to 135, a weight he can't make. It would be a dangerous fight simply because Ryan is big, he's strong, and he's powerful, and he spams the left hook button, right? And Shakur, he can evade it, but I don't know if he could get enough respect from Ryan Garcia to keep Ryan Garcia honest. Now, when you look at a Gervonta Davis, it's even worse because Gervonta's more of a put together fighter. That's why I agree with what Tim Bradley is saying here. Tim Bradley, I think he's coming to the realization, maybe because Shakur is not going to be on ESPN necessarily anymore or whatever. But the bottom line is Tank can smell the woe in you and he's coming to get you. There's guys that Tank is fighting that are way bigger punchers. And it's not just about punching power, but there's guys where the reason why I'm bringing up power punchers is because it's important that you stay on your P's and Q's, because if you fight a notorious puncher, one false move, that's like stepping on a landmine and it could be over for you. So just let me ask you guys this question. I could talk this boxing all day. I'm the best in the business. I could mess around, turn this to an hour video freestyle. I'm like Jay-Z. I be one taking my like Hove. Let me ask you guys this question. The question I'm going to ask is, who had better preparatory fights in their career to prepare for the other person, right? So if you guys think Shakur Stevenson versus Gervonta Davis is the gold medal match, you look at Shakur's resume to this point and look at Gervonta Davis's resume to this point, and honestly tell me whose fights would have better prepared them for the other guy's style. And it's absolutely Gervonta Davis, because like I said, you could say Shakur's skills are better than Rolly, Shakur's skills are better than Ryan. I ain't got no beef with that. But one thing those guys have is they're all bigger than Tank, and you can't make no mistakes with them based on their type of power. Rolly has game changer power. Ryan has game changer power. Frank Martin is an explosive, athletic guy who was boxing very well, right? So, and he's a southpaw. So you can't really make no mistakes with those people. Shakur Stevenson, he gets in the ring with Nakathila, Artem Harutnyan, Edwin De Los Santos, and he doesn't look as comfortable. And it's even apparent to me when you hear him talk post-fight. Shakur Stevenson is saying stuff like, oh man, I want to get the stoppage, but he was moving. I mean, what is that? You're a fighter. You got to figure it out. I mean, 'cause if we're talking about, like, let's say major punchers with that notorious punching power, they're known for punching power. So everyone they fight, as long as they know of your reputation, they're not trying to get hit with nothing crazy. So they encounter that every single bout because they're major punchers. Shakur is complaining because Harutnyan is not standing in front of him. Like, when would that ever be the case unless it's an inexperienced guy who sucks or a cab driver? Nobody's going to really, at the elite level, guys that been to the Olympics, guys with any type of skills or wherewithal, nobody's going to just intentionally stand in front of you and let you wail on them unless they don't have any type of experience or skills to get them out of that predicament. So I thought that was foolish from Shakur to make it sound like Artem was running and Artem Harutnyan was moving too much and he was fidgety and fainting. I mean, no one's going to just be a sitting duck intentionally unless they're limited by their skill set. So the bottom line is you got to always figure it out in this game. So if you're complaining about that, Tank is smaller, so you're going to have to punch down and change your trajectory because Shakur is taller. And he's also fidgety. He's also dodging punches and slipping punches. And he has equalizing power, the touch of death power. So all in all, we unpacked. I agree with what Tim Bradley is saying. Like, Tank is a go-getter. How is Shakur? And Tank Davis said this. He had an interview on the Rise podcast. This was a while ago. And he was like, man, I fought both of them dudes. They've been in the ring with me. They know what it is. And I cracked both of them. And he was talking about Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. And he said he cracked both of them. And then he said Shakur, in different interviews, Shakur ain't got no pop. He ain't got no power. You ain't knocking out guys when you was at 126 like that or 130 And you definitely not knocking people out unless it's a top ranked ESPN mercy stoppage like Yoshino, right? At 135. So nobody that I believe knows boxing would intelligently bet Shakur to knock out Tank Davis, which means he would have to get it done by outboxing Tank Davis. And again, I don't know if that would happen because to put a fight on pay-per-view, Shakur's never been on pay-per-view, so he has no established sales history of even being on pay-per-view, and people are complaining about his fight style. And if you're a business, you're a network, and you're trying to make profit, do you put that fight on pay-per-view? Yes, you could be like, oh, it's the best versus the best, but guess what? Ryan Garcia and Tank fought for no belt, and the fight generated a bigger live gate and sold more pay-per-views than Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, two highly respected, skilled guys for every single belt in a glamour division like welterweight. Which is why I always tell you guys, belts do not matter. You guys want me to be wrong so bad. It really irks your soul that Boxing Ego, the stuff I say, continues to rear its head into the sport and prove that I'm right, prove my greatness. People don't care about belts like that in 2024. If you're a fighter and that's a personal goal of yours to get a belt, fair play, Merry Christmas. I'm talking about like fans, and the fans are showing you that. People are tuning in to Joshua Ngannou, and Ngannou was coming off of a loss. What belt was that for? You see what I'm saying? That wasn't a sanctioned fight either, but people know and watched it and seen the knockout because they were curious or whatever. So I keep showing you that. So I don't know if you could make Gervonta Davis and Shakur an actual event, because at the end of the day, Shakur Stevenson is getting criticism. Yeah, he's a free agent. Eddie Hearn's trying to sign him and sell him a dream, but Eddie Hearn's promising him a bunch of guys that he don't even have access to. He's outlining like 3 fight deals that he wants with Shakur. Even if you sign Shakur, he's talking about, oh, I want him to fight William Zepeda and then move up to 140 and fight Liam Paro. I mean, who knows if Liam Paro even has a belt by then? Who said Shakur wants to move up to 140? And then he's talking about fights with Tank. You have no rights, no contract, no options on Gervonta Davis, and he's clearly the A side. So who knows if Eddie Hearn can get anything done in that department with the fights he's outlining for Shakur. And again, with people leaving Shakur's fights and stuff like that, it doesn't make it any better. So I don't really know that Tank and Shakur happens anytime soon, because this is a business and the business permits kind of what happens. Like Mayweather and Pacquiao is an example of the best versus the best, but people are willing to see those best versus the best. Shakur hasn't put himself in that category. If anything, he's kind of going in the opposite direction by being a nuisance and in trying to embrace this Shakur's Twitterson or whatever identity. And he's like annoying people, arguing with Cam and Mace and a bunch of fighters and responding to all negative comments. I don't really think, some people say, oh, all press is positive press. I don't really believe that. I don't think that people hating you and being angry with you and wanting to see you lose, like people are trying so hard to recreate what other people have done. Like Shakur is trying to do like Ryan Garcia and be heavy on the social media, and he's trying to play the villain like Floyd Mayweather and have people who hate you pay for your fight. But that really was overstated. The world of boxing, even the racist fans, they knew what time it was with Floyd Mayweather. People really respected Floyd Mayweather as a great fighter in his craft. People still have questions given a 27-year-old Shakur, his resume and stuff. So there's still questions there about Shakur and how good he is and resume and things like that. Nobody really doubted Floyd in that way. Maybe some people want to see him lose, but by that point, Floyd had beaten so many legends in the sport through the Pretty Boy Floyd and Money Mayweather stages that he was already respected. Even the people who saying he want him to lose, deep down inside, they really knew Floyd was that dude and a great fighter, right? And you've seen that when Floyd retired, he started to get his flowers a little bit more. So Shakur, he's not really in that zone. So making everybody mad at you is not gonna help you like you think. The other thing is Floyd is Floyd. He's almost 50 years old, and he came up in an era where streaming and piracy wasn't at an all-time high like it is now. So those days might be gone just because there's other avenues for people to watch the fights, both legally and illegally. So you making everybody mad, some people might want to see you lose for sure, but then they might want to see you lose via their Fire Stick, right? Like, yeah, I want to see Shakur lose, but I ain't paying to see Shakur lose. I'm a Fire Stick it. You see what I'm saying? So let me know what you guys think. Tim Bradley, he said his piece. Shakur's acting like he can't understand what Bradley's saying. I seen him say on Twitter, he said it's confusing. Not really confusing. Bradley previously did interviews and he sounded like he had a lot of faith that Shakur was good. But I think after his last two performances, like most boxing fans, they have questions now. It's raised their eyebrow. Like, how good really is Shakur Stevenson based on what we're seeing in these last two performances when the names improve ever so slightly in terms of competition? We unpacked